Hello everyone, my name is Konstantin. In this series of short lessons, I explain you all the aspects of JSight API language, so you can document your APIs in pretty simple and concise way. And today I'll tell you about all the built-in Scalar types and about all the rules you can use with these types. I've prepared some examples for you in JSight Online Editor, which you can find on editor.jsight.io. It's free, it's open source, you can use it anytime. Let's start from the numeric types. There are three numeric types in JSight API language: integer, float, and decimal. All these three numeric types use the same JSON type number, but in a slightly different ways. If you define the integer type, you have to put in the example some integer, like in line 5. If you define the float type, you have to put some float value into the example, using the decimal point. And if you define the decimal type, you also have to use the decimal point in the example, but also you have to define the rule precision. This rule specifies the number of decimal digits after the decimal point. And as you remember, in the majority of cases, you don't have to specify the rule type explicitly. And this works for all numeric types, so you can use it without defining the rule type. Please look at the next example. On the line 12, the parser knows that it's an integer because it looks like an integer. The parser knows that it is a float because it looks like a float. And the parser knows that it's a decimal because we have used the rule precision, as soon as the rule precision can be used only with decimal type. Now let's move to string types. In JSight API language, there are 6 string types which use the same JSON type string. They are string, date, datetime, email, URI, UUID. But there is only one type you can define implicitly. It's the type string. For all other types, you have to define them explicitly. In the next example on line 31, you see the string type defined implicitly. Let's move to other types. The Boolean type is very simple, and you can define it implicitly. The next type is very weird. It's the type null. I'm not sure you will ever use this type, but still, it exists. The next section is the variable types. By variable types, we mean types which can use different JSON types. For example, type enum. When you use the type enum, you have to specify the rule enum, and in this rule, you have to specify an enumeration of possible values. And these values can have different types. For example, here is an integer, here is a float value, and here is a string. And you have to put some of this value into the example. When you use the mixed type, you have to define the rule OR. This is a very powerful rule, and I will explain it in more details in some of the next videos. And the third variable type is type any. And when you use this type, it means that you can use in this place any value, not only scalar, just really any. You can skip the definition of the type enum, because in this case you always use the rule enum, so the parser always knows that it is a type enum. The same thing with the type mixed. You always use the rule OR when you use the type mixed, so the parser always knows that you use the type mixed. I've told you about all the built-in scalar types, and now I want to tell you about the rules you can use with these types. First, let's talk about the rules which you can use with any types. There are 3 rules: optional, nullable, and const. You can use the rule optional only with object properties. By default, it's false. If this rule is true, then you can skip this property in your real data. The rule nullable by default is false, but if it's true, then there can be a null in your real data. The rule const by default is false, but if it's true, the value in the real data must always be the same as in the schema. The next set of rules you can use only with string types. The rule min length and max length you can use only with string. The rule min length is by default 0. The rule max length is by default infinity. You can use the rule regex, which means regular expression, with the types string, data, datetime, email, and URI. And in the next section you see 4 rules, which you can apply only to numeric types: integer, float, and decimal. These are rules min, minimum value by default minus infinity, max, maximum value by default plus infinity. Exclusive minimum by default it's false, and exclusive maximum by default it's also false. Exclusive minimum and exclusive maximum rules are used to exclude the minimum value and the maximum value from the range of all possible values. So that's all for today. You see, it's quite simple. If you need some additional information, please go to my favorite page, Quick Help, where you can see the list of all the types and all the rules in the JSight API language. And also I recommend you to go to JSight Schema specification, scroll to the last section, a table of build types and rules, and here you see the table where you see all the types in the left column and all the rules you can apply to these types. And of course, all these types and rules are clickable. If you like JSight API language, please like this video and please go to our GitHub page and give us a star there. This will help us a lot. The link to the GitHub page you'll find below this video. And also I share this example. And you'll find the link to this example below this video as well. See you in our next lessons. Bye.